Hi, I'm Sachi. I'm an English girl, but I was born and raised in Japan. Welcome to my corner of the internet, where I'm trying to create a safe space where we can ask those questions, embrace those quirks, and celebrate how unique and beautiful each of us are. I've been traveling for a little while now and have been collecting stories of people who don't quite fit into the conventional molds. Today, I'm joined with a fellow third culture kid who shares his journey to embracing the beauty and freedom of not fitting into boxes. This is our special guest today, Dan the Man. Now, he comes with the title Doctor, so it's actually Dr. Dan for us. Thank you for joining us today on this channel.
Thank you very much for having me.
We actually connected because you saw my channel and related. So thank you for coming up to me and just being so open about your story. It meant so much to me that you actually was willing to share that at such a deep level as well. So I thought it would be a really cool experience to share that story, keeping in mind that there are all sorts of people who struggle with similar things. That's why I was like, please join me on my channel. So it was very short notice, but thank you.
My pleasure.
So I would love to have you give a self-introduction for the audience.
So I'm originally Romanian, as in I was born in Romania. When I was a kid, my parents escaped Romania, let's call it that, because the revolution had just happened. This was communist Romania, where you could literally not leave the country. And the last few years of communism, when I was born and I was around, things were really tough. Like, there was no food, there was no heating, no electricity, sometimes no running water, and of course no freedom, certainly of anything political or assembly or anything like that. So it was not a fun place, and my parents wanted to leave. Then the revolution happened and they thought, let's wait around and see what happens. Nothing great happened, and eventually they left. And they went where? To Spain. Why? The last place you could still get a visa for as a Romanian. We arrived as tourists and then just stayed illegally at first, eventually legally. And so I grew up in Spain from an early age. I went to school in Spain. All my acquaintances were Spanish, that sort of thing. But so when we arrived, Spain was not a place that received migrants as it does now. Now there are many South Americans, there's even like Europeans from all over the place. It's much more common to meet foreign people in Spain. When we arrived, we were one of the first to immigrate, because at the time, Spain was a migration country, like to the outside. People were leaving to go to Switzerland, to go to France, to go to Germany, where there were jobs, where there was, prosperity. Spain was just starting to become rich, quote unquote. In my school, I was one of two foreign kids in the same class. At my high school, I think I wasn't the only one, but I think like 2 years later somebody arrived or something like that. It was very rare to find foreign kids. So yeah, I grew up in Spain, but the real quirk is that my parents decided to ditch all Romanianness about us, decided to pretend that they're not Romanian, and integrate as Spanish people. They said, we're not Romanian, we're Spanish now, and that's it. So they didn't speak Romanian to me at home. They did speak English and French to me, because they're both teachers of languages, which is why I speak any, and this I have to thank them for. But the Romanian thing was like, okay, let's push it under the rug, pretend it never happened. And I guess that's a thing that works if you're in America or something, Canada. Like, all my Canadian friends are Pakistani, Iranian, and that's fine. That works perfectly well. In Spain, it does not. In Spain, if you say, I'm Spanish, but, originally Romanian, at the time, and still to this day, about a third of people would say to your face, well, you're not Spanish then. Like, they will say it immediately, like it's a reaction, it's a reflex. They don't even think about it, just go, well, you're not Spanish then. So I grew up in Spain pretending I was Spanish, and my parents still to this day pretend they're Canadian in Spain, because they teach languages. So you can't go like, oh, a Romanian teaching me English does not compute, right? So they have to put on this persona to carry out their job. So as you can imagine, I wasn't really like deep-rooted in Spain, and so I left as soon as I could, and I went to the UK, which I found to be a place that welcomes anyone and everyone. Or, they don't hate you any more than they hate their neighbor already. Like, it's you fit in really well. I'm talking about London specifically.
Right.
So anyway, I loved it, and I moved there, and I studied there for many years, eventually completing a PhD, hence doctor. And that's how I have now 3 passports, a very complicated identity, and that's how we're here.
Yeah, complicated to say the least. So when you first arrived in Spain, your parents were, okay, we're not going to talk about Romania, we're not Romanian. Was there like some talk or sit down, like you must not talk about Romania? Or like how did that happen?
No, it's not like they would tell me not to talk about it. It's like they themselves did not want to be associated with it, and I guess I just followed like whatever they were doing. And it was also like, it was such a negative reaction every time you would say I'm Romanian. We were like, this still happens to me today sometimes. I'll say I'm Romanian, people pat their pockets, and like there'll be like an immediate gap growing between us. And you know, it's what it is. Now I'm way past that, and I don't care anymore. And I have enough passports that I can confuse everybody. And it's hard to put like an immediate tag, immediate label. It's like, oh, you know, gypsy, forehead. No, it's harder because I can say I'm Romanian and Spanish and British. I can say very quickly. And then everybody's very confused. It's like, oh, what box do I put you in? Are you like lazy and you have siestas and, you know, you dance, or are you like a thief and from Eastern Europe, like dangerous mafia guy? Or are you like a hooligan for football? Do you like wear like a top hat and go fa 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 and drink tea? Like all these stereotypes clash with each other, so it's hard to put me in a box, and I love that.
I personally have a lot of issue with being put in a box, so I can definitely relate to the like love or like thriving in the fact that no one can actually fit you in a box. But I would love to turn back the tables of time, turn back the turn wheels of time, the handles of time. Turn back time.
Yes, let's go with that one.
Ask you a little bit about your journey from maybe I'm not supposed to say I'm Romanian to now being like I'm okay with where I am and how people can't put me in boxes. That journey I would love to kind of dig into a little bit. Could I ask you what it was like in school?
As I said, it was weird, for I was the one foreigner, sometimes one of two, you know, when I was lucky. As you yourself know from your own background, you stand out. In my case, I didn't stand out because of my looks. I blend in 100% in Spain. Nobody can tell I'm not Spanish. I look Spanish, move Spanish, sound Spanish, dress Spanish. I've been identified as Spanish by Spanish people in Romania who would come and talk to me because they see me from far away, like that guy's Spanish. So I blend in. But I guess I also arrived at that ability to blend in over many years of bullying at school. So, you know, it wasn't easy. But anyway, so you stand out. And I guess I didn't know how to use that thing that you are visible and noticeable and people talk about you. I guess I could have used it to my advantage. I guess if I had some inborn social skills or my parents hadn't endowed me with any, then perhaps that would have been a positive thing. And for me, it was not. It was a negative thing. I would stand out as the guy to people. It's like, oh, that guy. I was also fat and, you know, like I had like an awkward smile. You know, it was a combination of things. Also, I was wearing glasses. Also, I was very much into like trying to study and be good at that. And that was not appreciated at my school. I went to a local, you know.
Right. So, sorry, how old were you when you first went to Spain?
7 and a bit.
So, was there like that, do you remember the language integration? Was it quite easy?
It took me 3 months.
3 months?
I was fluent in Spanish. I don't remember that. My parents tell me that within 3 months I was fluent. I do remember my first mistakes because they're hilarious. You know, I would say something that I thought meant that and meant something different. It was funny, and everybody was like, "Oh, so cute!" You know, I was a cute child.
Yeah.
So anyway, I grew up as being from there while still sticking out, right? And then, like as I was saying earlier, the big asterisk here, like the big difference to another, you know, immigrant from anywhere else, is that my parents were like, well, we're not Romanian anymore, and they wouldn't like speak Romanian to me at home. It wasn't like, oh, keep in touch with like the culture or anything. They didn't want to speak to their families. Like it was like a complete break. It was like we move out and that's it, and now we adopt a new identity and we start a new life in a new place. That was their idea.
Right.
I don't know what made them think that was possible or even a good idea, but they were running from their own traumas of family and childhood, and it's a very long story. They have reasons.
I'm intrigued because children are adaptive, you know, they will adapt to different environments, new set of circumstances. They will be able to adapt most likely. But as one person who had to navigate a culture that wasn't my parents, I found it very challenging to find certain answers and continue to be a part of the community at school while also being accepted and part of the culture at home. So for me personally, it's really intriguing that your parents were just like, we're not Romanian anymore. So I'm imagining that there wasn't a contrast per se within the home and the school, but part of me is also like, but that's kind of impossible if they come from a different country.
I mean, you don't compare the two things, do you? Because I mean, it's just my parents and I. I didn't even like see them that much the first few years, I think, because they were working just to survive, like just to make any money. Like they both have university degrees, but they started working illegally as a gardener. My mother was cleaning toilets, that sort of thing. So they were out all day. I was just like on with the TV, there was a lot of that. So it's not like, oh, there's a clash in how we do things at school and what happens. No, it was two completely different worlds,
Right.
and there was no question that they would mix in anything.
You were the outsider, then you went to England where it was much more accepting. Was that out of just like wanting to travel, or was it like, I need to get out of this place? What was the incentive?
So I went to London on Erasmus, student exchange. I did a whole year, like a whole academic year of being in London at Goldsmiths, University of London. So basically I went to a place of extremely posh people, very, very pale, very ginger in southeast London and Lewisham, New Cross, where like to me it was like a completely new world. Like I came from this place that's generally very racially homogenous, and then I arrived in London, and I live in southeast London, black London. I would take the bus, and there would be one white person on the bus, me. Like the dentist was black, like the policeman was black, like everybody at the post office is Bangladeshi or Pakistani, and I don't know why, but that's a thing. And it was amazing. It was like, what a world. It's like, teleporting some alternate reality. I absolutely loved it. I loved it because I belonged there as much as anybody else.
Right.
It was a place where nobody rejected me for anything to do with my ancestry, cultural, ethnic, or otherwise. It was more like, who are you, what can you do? It's often what school you went to, but it's not about your appearance or your actual, ethnic ancestry.
Right, right.
So I loved that about it.
What happened after that? Did you decide to stay in England? Did you want to reconnect to Romania?
Maybe yes. There's a part missing there. I went there because I was doing a degree in English studies, so philology, like it's linguistics, literature, creative writing, translation, all the things to do with language. Specifically of the English language. I also did French, a bunch of little bits, but that was the main thing. And so of course, where do you go? When you go to the source, right? So you go to London, and so I did. And I regretted nothing. I discovered a world there in London at this posh university, but I think it's true at most unis in the UK that people really care about what they're studying. Like they genuinely either love the subject or know that it's an opportunity to network, to then go up in life, or they have this awareness, which at the time, at my uni in Spain was definitely not there. So I discovered that this world exists, and I was like, my people, this is what I want. I want to go and study more there. So I went to do a master's in Edinburgh, in Scotland, and at the intersection of two of my passions. I was already like a nerd of computers and things, and I loved language, communication, people, that sort of thing. And I was like, how do I combine these two things? Point. Natural language processing. Now, under the umbrella of AI, artificial intelligence. At the time, it was cool, but not that cool. Not as cool as it is now. It was like a niche, nerdy thing that very few of us knew about or cared about. And so I applied. I magically got into Edinburgh.
Right.
And that was it from that point on. I did my master's, absolutely the best thing I've ever done in my life. Like it just expanded my brain so much. I met such amazing people in Edinburgh. Loved the place, loved the university, wanted to do a PhD. Spain had just gone in this was 2011. So, 2008 financial crisis?
Yeah.
It really hit Spain about 2011. As my father says, Spain is a great place to be when the end of the world comes, or everything arrives 20 years later. So this is only 3 years later, but it did take a while. Like for the first few years, you didn't notice it. And anyway, everything went down, change of government, started cutting, no money to study abroad. I was going to ask for like a loan, disappeared. It's like, what do? I got an offer to do a PhD in Plymouth, southwest of England, on the tip of the island, basically. And I went there. I wanted to get out of there immediately. As soon as the place. No, I do not recommend that place. Sorry, Plymouthians watching. I apologize, but that's the reality. So I started a startup, which got some funding, got into an accelerator, and moved to Sheffield. That was just 3 months. That thing failed quickly. Moved back to Edinburgh, talked to my supervisor for my master's, and I said I want to do a PhD. And he said, oh, that's great. There might still be some money left. And I went and spoke to the man who held his fingers, the strings of the purse, and it turns out there wasn't some money left. There was a ton of money left. They gave me a nice big bag of pounds coming out, figuratively speaking. And that's how I ended up doing a PhD in Edinburgh.
Right, wow.
So I stayed in Edinburgh for like 7 years overall.
Cool. Childhood in Spain. Went to uni, found this magical combination of the two things that you love. pursued that, became a doctor. So you basically won in life. At this point, what does one do when they get their PhD in the thing that they really, really love?
It's a great question. I think the problem I have is I'm a millennial, so I need to see impact. I need to see that what I do matters. It's not just, oh, I live a comfortable life. It's like,
Yes,
what's the point of anything? What did I come to this world for? To be a comma on the pages of history? No, I need to do something meaningful. And so I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that impact. This is also like we're having this conversation in a very specific context, which is, as you know, AI is like shooting off the charts. Most people don't yet realize how much change that's going to bring. I don't want to call it disruption necessarily, but it's going to be a lot of change. A lot of change very quickly. It's going to come fast and furious, and nobody's ready for it. I'm not ready for it. But I do realize that this is an opportunity to apply the things that I've studied, that I may be a bit knowledgeable about, and I guess my network of contacts or whatever, to actually try and use, you know, these new tools and then the fact that everything's about to change to actually bring about some good and meaningful change to the world. What that is exactly, I haven't figured out yet. I'm working on it.
We're in the same boat. I too am blessed with the curse of being a millennial and trying to figure out a way that I can help in my little way, how I can make a meaningful impact in the world. So we're in the same boat. I'm definitely not the leading people in the AI field, but in my own way. And even through conversations like this, I think we are making a teeny weeny impact at a time to, you know, spread these stories of, yeah, you can have a life that's not like anybody else's. And you can, that's okay, that's wonderful. It's better than okay, you know? And I love that you are like a prime example of this, especially because of the shared background that we have of like being technically a foreigner in the country that we were raised in. So I would kind of like to rein it back into that a little bit here specifically, because there are a lot of challenges in being in that situation. And the fact that you've got over the years of bullying, got over the challenges and creating a life that is your own, I think that's personally very inspiring, and I would love to get your insight on like what helped you through that and what kind of powered you through to pursue what it is that you love and so on in the life you lead now.
Wonderful question. It's not been easy, I would say. Now, you never look back to your struggles. You want to remember the good stuff in your life. And I guess we all just do that. We start to, again, you know, mop it under the carpet and like pretend everything's fine, everything's been amazing. But there have been tough times for sure. And with all the, as you mentioned, the bullying and that all that lack of roots, lack of structure in your life, lack of given identity, you don't know which group you belong to. Where's your group? Who are your people, right? That sort of thing. I've definitely felt the pain of that and for many years. And I was always looking for that group. I guess I had to create it because it wasn't given to me. It wasn't like, well, you're one of us, this is us, these are our, you know, traditions, this is our language, this is how we do things. Boom, off you go, you know, done. You know where you belong. I didn't have that, so I had to create it. And at the beginning, it was like the first time I think I felt connected to a group of people that I found myself was backpackers. I started traveling, and that was extremely helpful in this journey. No regrets. Like I met very inspiring people, traveler people, like, you know, backpackers around the world. Australia, New Zealand, I was in Thailand, I was all around Europe. I did all these interrails, which is kind of like the JR pass for Europe. I did a lot of travels, sometimes with friends, sometimes all by myself. You meet people in hostels, whatever. All those trips, like, were like, how shall I say, like therapy, if you wish. You know, it's a growth journey, and it's, anyway, I don't want to get too philosophical, but it definitely helped. And then I started creating a bit of a life for myself, kind of, oh, wait, but this is what I want to work on. Oh, wait, I can go and do some research and be up there working with, you know, top people in the field X, Y, or Z, you know, like working on things. And that's, I think, my current, okay, who are my people now? The backpackers remain my people, I think, forever, but now it's more specific. Yes, I love the whole nomad thing. This is how we've met, right? We're in this co-living experience. You yourself have been traveling around a while, and myself as well. And of course, the people I connect with strongest nowadays are other people who have similar lifestyles, right? And they also travel, they are also location independent, they also try to make a difference, they also try to make something good, all of these things like connect you to other people. So I guess now I found my crowd, and it's amorphous. It's hard to like clearly define, but it includes all these elements. I also have really good friends who are researchers in industry or whatever. I also have very good friends who are just, stay-at-home mom, but,
That's a really wonderful kind of story into how you are this person today. I have a dead straight question for you that you're going to hate.
Oh, no.
How do you identify yourself today?
If you mean in terms of nationality, I broadly see myself as European. Like the European Union would be my country if I could choose one. If that was a country, I'd be so happy to just have a European passport. Blue and with the golden stars. That makes so much sense.
Nationality speaking, okay.
Yes.
Any other sense that you would like to share?
Identity. Well, you can put a lot of words in like to defining yourself, right? So yes, I hate calling myself a nomad because there are some associations, but yes, I'm a location independent individual. What else am I? I'm a scientist. What else am I? I'm a storyteller. You may have noticed.
Yes.
I like gathering stories and sharing them. All of these things, I guess, I self-identify as.
Yeah, I love that. I asked you because I myself am searching for me, basically, through traveling. Because I've heard from many people, online, offline, you will find yourself as you travel. So I was like, fine, if everyone recommends this so much, let me save up some money and do it. So I started with just hopping in my car and traveling to Japan because that was what my means enabled me to. And then as soon as I had more means to do otherwise, tried to figure out certain limits of my own, certain things that I would take, wouldn't take, how, like different conversations leading back to reflection of myself. I've had a couple of people ask me this month, like, so how do you identify as? And I'm like, still don't know, still don't know. Which is why I asked you, like, I think it's totally okay to still not be sure. But it was wonderful that there was an actual response, even without preparation, that you were like, yes, these are the things that I've found along my life.
Some things, yes.
Yeah. And I think that's beautiful. I have taken up a lot of your time already, but I would love one final big question. If you could say something to yourself back when you were struggling the most, what would you say to him?
I guess I'd say there's a whole world out there where you do belong, where you will find what you're looking for. And it's okay to leave what you know and go and seek it. I think I could have left on a journey much earlier than I did. I think I was a bit limited because I was scared, I guess. Not scared, but I don't know. I think what really helps is to have examples, to know people who have done it, and then all of a sudden it's not that scary. All of a sudden it seems much more doable. That's certain.
Brilliant. Thank you. I really, really appreciate you for being so open with your story. Last but not least, I'd love to know what you're doing now and where you want to go from here, just to kind of wrap up the whole session.
So what I'm doing now, as I touched on earlier, is I'm trying to find meaningful impact that I can have. So I'm doing some research on AI things. I do have a startup that is, doing okay. And so I'm focusing on that for now, but I'm also like on the side always looking for how can I, where's the button that I can press that will make a difference. So that's what I'm currently busy with.
Right, I love that. Okay, brilliant. Well, guys, this has been Dr. Dan and his amazing story. Thank you so much for taking all this time to be vulnerable and open with me, and amongst this nature with lots of planes and like flies and birds. Thank you for bearing the elements with me.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much. So guys, if you would like to connect with Dan, he's on Instagram. So we'll put all the links in the description below. Please let me know in the comments your takeaways and what sort of things that you felt in this conversation. If there's any other questions or things that you'd like me to ask future guests, please let me know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao!